The swamp breathed without making a sound. Thick, violet muck sloshed sluggishly between strangler vines and luminescent root lanterns, each pulsing like a heart removed from time. And beneath that suffocating canopy, lit only by the ghost light of bioluminescent spores, a woman lay half-submerged in silence. Alien core, bounty hunter, deserter, experiment. Her fingers trembled just above the swamp's slick surface. One eye was swollen shut, a narrow gash sliced across her side. Soaking into her bodysuit and turning the filtration mesh a deep shade of black. She was bleeding, slower now but still alive, barely. Beside her, Zellen's body twitched once more, then went still. He had died 3 minutes ago, maybe 4. His neural implants still blinked red behind one ear. The last desperate signal, lost among the static-flooded atmosphere of Gliese IX. Alien didn't check for a pulse. The venom worked faster on humans. She didn't move, didn't breathe too loudly, because somewhere in the dark it was still watching. Sci-Fi the Serpent, 3 meters long, muscle and biocircuitry. A predator born in the warm trenches of this forgotten planet, and later modified by unknown hands. Its skin could fold light like liquid. Its fangs, not teeth but needles, carried a compound that unraveled nervous systems in seconds. But that wasn't what made it feared. It could hear thought. Not language, not intention, but impulse, electrical sparks in the cortical spine. The twitch before the twitch, the breath before the scream. That's how it hunted. Alien's breath caught as a shape rippled through the swamp water. Something heavy slid just under the surface, too smooth, too graceful, like gravity didn't quite apply. Her arm jerked slightly too much. The ripples reached her thigh. A hiss, she froze. Her mind raced, but she knew better than to think in panic. Cyril could smell that too. It was close now, close enough to strike. Her HUD flickered, then dimmed. The neural link behind her left ear sparked weakly. Damage, the interface couldn't stabilize. She didn't have much time. She moved slowly, so slowly she felt the universe compress, until her index finger brushed against her temple. And then asterisk click, her pulse synced, the implant flared. And the world turned inside out. For a split second, Alien was not in her body. She was asterisk outside asterisk it, floating, seeing not in color but in impulse. Heat maps, pressure shifts, the rhythmic pulse of blood through creatures, big and small. She tasted fear asterisk in the air, and then she saw herself. Lying in the mud, helpless, breathing shallow, wounded. Beautiful in that broken mammalian way. The image of herself was asterisk, not hers asterisk. It came from the Serpent, Cyril. They were linked now. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough. The Serpent twitched. She twitched, dual impulses, 2 spines caught in artificial resonance. Alien's head swam. Her thoughts were no longer alone. Something ancient and violated crawled through her neurons like vines through bone. It did not speak, but it remembered pain, needles. Cages, noise. The same things she remembered from Europa Station. Cyril was no monster, not just, it was engineered. Weaponized just like she had been, the connection deepened. She felt its attention, focused and terrible, lock onto her heartbeat. There was a question in that stare, unspoken but urgent. Ally threat, she blinked once, slow, deliberate. Every muscle still, Cyril stopped moving, then miraculously it pulled back. Its long, glistening body twisted in a semicircle around her, never touching, but enclosing. Guarding, it turned its head toward the dense tree line to the west, toward the Cartel stronghold. Alien felt the rage in its spine, the memory of chains. Of pain, Alien blinked again, this time asterisk, yes, they moved. Cyril surged forward, and Alien followed, one hand gripping the vertebrae just below its neck. Her HUD flared erratically, confused by the overload of data. but her body responded faster than the software ever could. She ducked when it ducked, leaned when it curved, breathed when it breathed. They vanished into the black jungle, a streak of heat and vengeance. Behind them, Zelen's body twitched one last time, triggered by the swamp's electrical pulse. His chest plate cracked open, revealing a small metallic cube nestled inside. The cube blinked twice, transmitting a signal straight to orbit. Alien didn't see it, but somewhere far above, on a silent listening satellite, a red light switched from observe to asterisk terminate. The cartel knew the raid had failed, and someone inside the team had told them. But Alien wasn't dead, not yet, and the swamp had chosen sides. They called her Alien Core because someone had to call her something. But in the official records of the Interspecies Command Fleet, there was no such person. No DNA trace, no retinal print, no voice signature. Her name was nothing more than a placeholder on bounty slips and low-level kill contracts, just real enough to accept a mission, just unreal enough to vanish after one. She'd been born in silence. Not in a hospital, not even in the rusting colonies of the asteroid belts, but in batch chamber B9 asterisk, deep within the Europa biowarfare cadet complex. No one gave infants names there, only injection schedules and neural tolerance scores. Alien Core had outlived 36 others in her batch, not because she was stronger, not because she was smarter, but because she had adapted to the pain asterisk. She learned early that flesh lied, but signals didn't. That language failed, but impulse never did asterisk. The project had been called asterisk sensory overlay harmony asterisk, or Project So asterisk. Later classified as a mistake. The goal: create living scouts who could sync their nervous systems with animals or machines. Not just interface through command, but merge asterisk, feel what the beast felt. Act through it, think beyond it. Only 3 subjects survived the final phase. 2 went insane. The last one disappeared during a training simulation in the Martian Red Zone. That one was her. Now, years later, Alien sat at the edge of the orbital drop shuttle, her boots coated in dried swamp resin. Her rifle disassembled across her lap. The mission brief hovered in front of her, glitching slightly. As all devices did this close to Gliese IX's magnetic field, but she'd memorized every detail days ago. Target Coven Erin, species unknown hybrid, location Swamp Sector 3 Delta Fortress Rootspine. Reward 600,000 credits. Optional add-on 250,000 for retrieval of stolen brain core prototypes. But she wasn't in it for the credits, not really. She was here because Erin's fortress was surrounded by something that no other hunter dared cross. The asterisk fens of Sireal asterisk, a living, venomous swamp watched over by a creature most thought was extinct. They weren't wrong, it wasn't just a creature, it was asterisk a sentinel. An alien had met it once before. The shuttle doors hissed open, releasing a wave of acidic humidity that curled her hair and fogged her visor. The rest of the team, 5 mercenaries hired through a shell firm, stepped out with false bravado and twitchy fingers. She didn't look at them. She had refused command of the squad. Too noisy, too chaotic, they didn't like her. Fine. She didn't like most humans. Only things that didn't lie interested her: beasts, instincts, terrain. She moved ahead, past the tree line of fleshy bark and photosensitive fronds. The soil here wasn't really soil. It pulsed, barely distinguishable from living tissue. The entire biome was half organic, half synthetic, the product of centuries of dumped experimental flora and weaponized fauna. It made people nervous. It made Alien feel at home. She activated a small panel on her wrist. A map unfolded, topography, heat signatures, M readings. But she didn't need it. She could already feel it in her spine. That asterisk presence. Somewhere beneath them, a asterisk stirred. 15 years ago, Europa. The test had been called asterisk merge alpha, level 7 biohost. They gave her a small serpent, young, engineered, designed for neural harmony. At first it had worked. She'd synced, glimpsed through its eyes, slithered beside herself. But something had gone wrong. The signal loop had locked. Her brain caught inside the creature's panic reflex. For 7 minutes, she thought she was drowning in blood and static. Then darkness. When she woke up, the lab had been abandoned. She was on the floor, the serpent coiled beside her, watching. It wasn't hostile, just alive. They tried to terminate the host. She ran. She never forgot how the serpent lowered its head before she escaped, like it knew what they were doing. Like it chose to let her go. Years later, someone showed her a picture of the predator that guarded the fens of Sci-Fi. She didn't say anything, but she recognized the curve of the spine. The eyes, the present. Hey, one of the mercs called out. A man with a thick accent and artificial jaw plating. You coming, ghost? Alien didn't answer. She walked ahead. The swamp began to breathe beneath her. Somewhere in the darkness, a familiar pulse echoed. Not sound, not signal, something between the two. She pressed a finger to her temple, not to activate the neural link. Not yet, but to remind herself she still had a asterisk. The others didn't know. No one did. They thought she was here to hunt a cartel boss. But she was here for something else, to face what had once been asterisk part of her. And maybe asterisk to see if it remembered. They entered the swamp just before dusk. The sky above Gliza IX never truly darkened. It rippled in shifting hues of moss green and copper. The atmosphere thick with charged particles. Alien moved with the quiet efficiency of someone who knew every wrong step. Could be their last. Behind her, the 5 mercenaries talked in low tones, their words fragmented by static and mistrust. She kept her distance. They weren't soldiers, just contractors paid to shoot, retrieve, shut up. Their eyes lingered too long on the twitching shadows, and their fingers hovered a second too close to the trigger. She didn't need them to like her. She needed them to stay out of her way. The marsh stretched in every direction like an open wound. Trees bent in impossible shapes, and beneath their roots the land breathed, slow, thick, and wet. Every so often, a tendril of fog hissed up from below, like steam from a creature's mouth. The biosensors clipped to her hip struggled to track motion. Everything was motion. Nothing stayed still here. Even the ground flexed. She felt it in her teeth, the static buildup, the weight in the air before the current shifted. Something was wrong, and then it happened, the one called Merrick. A broad-shouldered man with a plasma repeater and the patience of a grenade stepped into a shallow basin, too shallow to drown in. He paused, frowned, looked down. Alien watched from a distance, her instincts already screaming. Merrick opened his mouth. A flash of movement. The swamp exploded upward. A blur, a wet muscular snap, then silence. When the mud settled, Merrick was gone. No scream, no body, just a thin red trail spiraling down into the darkness beneath the water. His weapon clattered uselessly to the surface, then sank as if pulled. The others froze. One of them, Vez, tall, jittery, lifted his comm device to whisper something. But Alien wasn't watching him. She'd seen Merrick's hand right before he vanished He wasn't reaching for his gun. He was pressing 2 fingers to the inside of his collar. A mic hidden, transmitting. Alien's stomach tightened. There was no signal right now. Not here. The ion storms around the swamp scrambled all basic channels. Which meant he wasn't trying to call out. He was trying to confirm. Send a shortwave burst, a location, a death signal. She stepped away from the group without a word. The swamp had already swallowed the evidence. There would be no funeral, no questions, but in her mind a new conflict brewed. Someone had set them up. That night the group made camp along a ridge of pale fungus that glowed faintly blue. It was the only solid terrain for kilometers. Alien didn't sleep. Neither did the swamp. The remaining mercs drank recycled stimulant brew and pretended they weren't next. One of them tried to strike up conversation. She ignored him. The air tasted like tin and old fire. Something was asterisk charging. At exactly 03:12 local time, her comlink blinked once, then died. Every feed, every map, every transmission line flatlined. Like someone had switched off the planet, Alien narrowed her eyes. This wasn't environmental. She could still hear the low hum of plasma rifles being charged and the idle pings of automated motion detectors. This wasn't a blackout. It was interference. From below, she pulled up a manual scanner from her satchel. The reading pulsed erratically, overwhelmed by data she couldn't parse. Not electromagnetic, not thermal, not sonic, it was neural. A deep old asterisk pulse asterisk asterisk, buried in the mud, pushing upward like a warning. Or a signal. She defelt it once before, her fingers clenched reflexively. Sci-Fi, the serpent was moving, and it wasn't hunting food. It was hunting asterisk voices. By morning, the group was down to 4. One of the mercs, a woman named Kier, had wandered out to piss behind a stalk of sulfurbark trees and never came back. They found her helmet 2 hours later, crumpled like paper. The rest wanted to turn back. Alien didn't respond. She was already walking ahead, into the thickest part of the swamp. The place the maps marked as asterisk unpassable asterisk asterisk. The trees here grew in spirals, their bark slick with translucent gel. The air smelled like metal and rain. She pressed forward. And then she heard it, a sound not made by anything with lungs. It came not through her ears, but behind her eyes. A syllable, 2 at most, not language but recognition. Alien, her name, not spoken, thought. She stopped breathing. The others didn't react. Of course they didn't. The voice wasn't for them. It asterisk couldn't asterisk be. This was resonance, biosynaptic echo. A direct neural alignment across distance. Sci-Fi was calling. Not in fear, not in anger, but in asterisk invitation. She turned slowly. The swamp behind her rippled with unnatural calm. The others fidgeted, scanning the trees. They didn't feel what she felt. A memory rose in her throat, unbidden, her small hands trembling in a sterile lab. The snake's eyes locked with hers, the moment of merging. The flood of asterisk asterisk pain that wasn't hers. Now it was happening again. Only this time the pain was deeper, and it knew her name. The air in the swamp turned solid. Not literally, but it felt that way, dense, charged, like the whole marsh had held its breath. The team had barely made it 20 meters past the ridge when the water began to ripple, slow and steady, as if something enormous was exhaling beneath their feet. Alien stopped. Every nerve in her body went silent. The other mercs didn't notice, or rather they refused asterisk to notice. Tensions had been rising ever since Kier's disappearance. Vez had started whispering to the others behind her back. She caught fragments which, Implant freak, probably controlling this whole thing. But now they were walking into something they couldn't talk their way out of. The swamp shifted. Something large moved beneath the surface. The roots nearby sank, pulled down by unseen pressure. Mud cracked. Air bubbles bloomed like boils across the stagnant water. Then the water exploded. A surge of wet, gleaming mass burst upward in a spiral of muck and rotting vegetation. The mercs shouted, fired blindly, but their shots hit nothing. Too fast, too fluid. The creature landed in the middle of them with a sound like thunder under flesh. Its body coiled high, thick as a power conduit, scales slick with neural light. The glow beneath its skin pulsed in familiar rhythms, like a heartbeat mirrored through a synthetic mind. Sireal alien didn't move. It slithered forward, ignoring the panicked gunfire, weaving like smoke through shattered branches and sensor beams. One merc screamed as it lunged, but not at him. It passed him, twisting, and stopped, right in front of her. Its head hovered inches from her throat. Her hand instinctively moved toward her sidearm, but stopped midway. The creature's eyes locked onto hers, unblinking, massive, ancient, alive. It inhaled, but not through lungs, through asterisk fields tasting her. The tip of its snout grazed her jaw, then her neck. Her implant lit up, not by her will but by proximity. Sireal was scanning her neural thread, and then it pulled back. No hiss, no strike, just silence. Alien exhaled shakily. That's when the shouting began. She's controlling it. Did you see that? She didn't flinch, asterisk it backed off. She's synced with it, she's the one setting us up. Vez didn't hesitate. He aimed his rifle directly at her chest. We turn her in. She's the asset, she brought us here to die. Two others nodded, cornered by their own fear. Alien's face didn't change, but inside something asterisk broke. It wasn't just fear or betrayal, it was asterisk recognition. She'd seen this before, in Europa, in the eyes of the doctors as they backed away from her and labeled her unfit. In the gaze of commanders who saw her as a tool that learned too fast, adapted too well. And now again in the eyes of the dying, they lunged. But she moved faster. Alien's hand shot to her temple. This time it wasn't about defense, it was about asterisk connection. The interface flared, biosynaptic fusion attempted. Her vision blurred, then sharpened again, but not as Alien. As asterisk Sireal, she dropped to her knees, and the world poured in. There was no sound in the memories, only sensation. Pain like wire through bone, light too sharp to be seen. Cold not of temperature, but of purpose. She saw a cage. Fluid tanks, electrodes jammed into Sireal's spine. Scientists in Cartel armor, needles pulsing green venom. Shockwaves sent through its limbs, tests, commands. Reprogramming, but Sireal had resisted. It remembered something else, asterisk a child. A small hand touching its skin, soft, curious, not afraid. The Cartel had seen that moment in its memory. They tried to erase it. Crush it, they failed. The child had vanished, but the beast remembered. And now so did she. Alien's chest tightened. That memory, the child in the lab, too young to speak, too scarred to cry, asterisk was her. Sireal wasn't hunting them out of hunger. It was seeking asterisk reunion asterisk. And asterisk revenge. She blinked. The neural link dissolved with a gasp. The world returned like a crashing tide. Vez and the others were moving in. But they were too late. Sireal moved, not like a beast. Not like a program. Like an asterisk shadow with purpose. Its tail whipped sideways, slamming Vez into a tree with a crack of bone and steel. Another merc tried to run. Sireal leapt. A blur, a crunch. Silence. A third raised his gun, hesitated as Alien stood, eyes glowing faintly, implant still sparking. Don't, she said, her voice calm, not a threat, a fact. He fired too slow. Sireal struck, blood arced, then settled. Then nothing. The swamp was still again. Only two figures remained, the woman and the beast. They stood side by side, steam rising from the carnage. Alien's breaths were slow, grounded. No one else would come looking. The Cartel wanted them erased, not found. The bounty mission was never meant to succeed. It was a trap for her, or for Sireal, maybe both. But now the trap had been sprung. Sireal slithered toward the water's edge, then stopped. Waited, Alien followed. Together they slid beneath the surface, into the depths of the mire. Not as predator and prey, but as two survivors, bound by pain. By memory, and by the choice not to kill each other when they could have. The fortress rose out of the mire like a scar on the planet's flesh. Blackened roots and fossilized metal formed its outer wall, latticed with neuroconductive veins that shimmered with electric light. The cartel didn't use turrets, they didn't need to. Instead, they built *A field **, a living neural storm that blanketed the compound in a web of mind-silencing resonance. Inside, everything obeyed: machines, weapons, even thought restructured, looped, purged of rebellion. Alien stood at the edge of this storm, mud clinging to her legs, fingers resting just above the trigger on her neural detonator. Cyril coiled beside her, silent, massive, breathing slow like the tide. They had reached the end. The mission had been simple on paper: infiltrate the cartel compound, upload a targeting beacon, and call in an orbital strike, burn everything to the ground. Leave no survivors. The payment would triple if done clean. The targeting signal was live. She could send it now. But there was a problem. Cyril was inside the blast radius. The beast had guided her through the swamp, survived ambushes, shielded her, remembered her. It had risked everything for her, and now stood exactly where the fire would fall. One press of the switch, and the cartel would die. So would Cyril. She didn't move. The wind changed, swirling through the humid swamp like breath from a forgotten god. Lights blinked erratically across the fortress skin. Somewhere deep inside, machines screamed in silence, reacting to the presence of two minds that didn't belong. She felt her implant hum against her skull. "Alyn," came the automated voice in her ear. A cold ping from a satellite AI. Target zone locked. Detonation window 30 seconds. Confirm strike. Her thumb hovered. Cyril raised its head. For a moment it simply stared at her. Then slowly it bowed. Not a reflex, not animal behavior. A choice. It knew what she held. It had seen this before. Pain, sacrifice, obedience to something that never deserved loyalty. It was offering itself, to die for her mission, to finish what she started. And that asterisk broke her. Alyn clenched her jaw, her breath shivered. She was trained for this, programmed for it. The fleet had taught her that missions matter more than mercy. That hesitation was the root of failure, but for once she let herself feel. This wasn't a creature, not anymore, maybe never was. This was a memory that had survived too long. This was the only other being that ever truly saw her. Her thumb left the trigger. She reached instead to her temple, her neural interface sparking weakly, and activated the deep sync override ***. Cyril did not resist. Together they moved. The field surrounding the cartel base was designed to collapse minds. Any AI caught in its grip was stripped of identity and bent to serve. Organic intruders fared no better, overwhelmed by hallucinations and violent seizures. But Alyn wasn't entering alone. She was *riding a signal. She mounted Cyril's back like a living storm. The Serpent surged forward, scales lighting with rhythmic pulses as the sync intensified. Her heart matched its movements. Her vision split and fused again, seeing through *4 eyes, hearing through bone and vibration. They crossed the first threshold, and the field struck. But this time it wasn't enough. The sync stabilized. Her thoughts bled into the creature's memory, not data. Not logic, but truth. The pain, the cages, the child who reached out with a hand instead of a whip. They weren't attacking the fortress. They were injecting a memory a pure, unfiltered echo of something the cartel systems could not parse, categorize, or overwrite. Emotion, uncontrolled, untranslated, real. Inside the fortress, machines twitched. Synthetic guards froze. Surveillance systems blinked, confused. The core AI began to fragment. slipping into recursive error loops. Unstable memory sequence detected. Hostile input undefined. Source unknown. Threat level maximum. Serial crashed through the front chamber. Alien dismounted mid-motion, sprinting toward the control column. A tower of wet, throbbing neurogel wrapped in mechanical vines. She reached the interface and let her memory flow. A child's scream, a serpent's cry, the first moment of trust. The tower pulsed once, then ruptured. The entire fortress went white. Outside in orbit, the targeting satellite caught the neural cascade and flagged it as detonation-level threat. It triggered an automatic failsafe, core overload from within. No need to strike, objective complete but not without cost. When Alien came to, the swamp was on fire. The fortress no longer existed, only molten shards and skeletal roots. Smoke curled into the thick sky like black ribbons mourning the dead. She coughed, crawled through ash, metal, and bone. And found Serial, collapsed near the epicenter, still. Breathing shallow, its body smoked from within, nerves burned by the overload. The sink had held too long, taken too much. She fell to her knees beside it. Placed her hand on its skull. The skin was warm, but the light beneath it. Fading, she didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. Its eyes flickered, one last time, then dimmed. She sat there for hours, cradling the serpent's head in her lap. Surrounded by the ruin of an empire built on obedience. And one creature who chose to obey. She didn't notice the rescue ship descending. Not at first. The sky above Gliesa IX had been choked with smoke for hours. Ash fell like snow, carried by the wind through the remnants of the destroyed fortress. Where once neural walls pulsed with enslaving frequency, now only twisted metal and scorched roots remained. Alien sat at the edge of it all, silent, legs folded beneath her, one hand resting gently atop Serial's lifeless head. The serpent's scales had dulled to a muted gray, the glow beneath its skin, the signature pulse that once shimmered with. Thought and instinct was gone. Its body was still warm but empty. She hadn't moved since the explosion, hadn't spoken. When the dropship touched down behind her, stirring dirt and bone into the air, she didn't turn. A voice crackled over the comm. "This is Commander Reyes, Interspecies Command. We have visual, subject located, stand by for medical." Boots splashed through the mud. 6 soldiers approached, scanning for threat. They found none. Only a lone woman, caked in soot and memory, and a massive dead beast that once terrified entire sectors. One officer raised a brow. "Is that the Serial?" "No," another whispered. "That was something else." They tried to lift her. She waved them off. They offered her water, she refused. Eventually, Reyes himself walked forward. Gray hair, synthetic lungs, the clipped confidence of a man who never liked loose ends. He crouched beside her. "You did it." She didn't answer. "You destroyed the cartel's command structure, disrupted their AI grid. The satellite confirms their network is folding across 6 planets. What you did here, what you chose to do, saved lives." Still no reply. He glanced at the serpent, then back at her. "We want to recognize this, publicly. The High Directorate is already drafting a commendation. We'll give you full reinstatement, clear your past record." Hell, you could teach or lead. Only then did she speak. Her voice was low, steady. "I want to be deleted." Reyes blinked. "What? From all records, all files, no medals, no name." "That's not. I don't want a legacy built on something no one's willing to understand." He hesitated. "You could be remembered. I'd rather be forgotten." She looked up at him then, and for the first time Reyes saw it. Not just exhaustion, but something deeper. A hollow carved by too many missions, too many names erased, too many truths rewritten. A living ghost asking to vanish. Not out of shame, but as an act of final choice. 2 days later, with no ceremony, no cameras, and no official report, Alien buried Sci-Fi. She carried the body alone, dragged it over swamp and stone, across silent wetlands and groves that pulsed faintly with life. There was one place left untouched by interference, a clearing beyond the storm line, where even the neurowinds could not reach. A land that had forgotten war, she dug with her hands. No shovel, no tools, just instinct and time. When the grave was ready, she laid the body down with quiet care. Not like a beast, but like a companion, like the only being who had ever seen her truly seen her, and chose her anyway. She didn't speak a eulogy, only a whisper, "I didn't kill to survive." A breath, "I survived because I didn't kill again." And then silence. The wind shifted, not harsh, not cold. Just still. She stood there until nightfall, then she walked away. Months later, long after the mission had faded from rumor and unofficial channels, a child wandered through the ruins of the Cartel fortress. She was local, born of the fringe settlements scattered along the outer marsh. Her people didn't trust tech, didn't use names much. But they'd felt the tremor when the fortress fell. Some called it a punishment, others a cleansing. She called it a story waiting to be found. The ash was deep, but the bones were gone. Only fragments remained, scorched data casings, melted plates, ruined cyberspines. And something else, a single asterisk tooth, long, curved. Embedded with faint circuitry, a serpent's fang. She picked it up. It pulsed faintly in her palm. Curious, she tapped it against her sensor rock. The device flickered, buzzed, then projected something strange. A pattern, not language, not command code, a asterisk memory. Darkness, a cage, a child's hand reaching toward light. The sensation of being seen, a bond born of pain but not shaped by it. It wasn't just a biological implant. It was a asterisk neural record. A final echo of a serpent that once learned to trust. And a woman who chose not to betray it. The girl stared at the signal as it looped once, then faded into the stars. She didn't understand it all, but she knew this. Some truths weren't made to be kept in towers. They were meant to be asterisk found. This was never a story about war. Not truly. There were no parades, no medals pinned to chests. No triumphant speeches echoing through the comms of interstellar fleets. What happened in the swamps of Gliza IX was buried in ash and silence, filed under classified events. Never mentioned in official broadcasts, because it didn't fit the story people wanted. There was no righteous battle, no heroic charge, no enemy vanquished in glorious combat. There was only a woman who chose asterisk not to kill asterisk, and a creature that had every reason to destroy, but didn't. Alien Core was trained to obey, like many others engineered through failed bioprograms. Her worth was once measured in compliance, efficiency, and survivability. She had seen the inside of cages, both metal and mental, long before she ever picked up a rifle. But the real prison wasn't physical. It was the voice inside that said, "Submit to the system or vanish." She had vanished, and in doing so found something the system never accounted for, a choice. Not between mission and failure, but between obedience and understanding. Between programmed response and genuine presence. Sci-Fi had never been a monster. It had been made to look like one, engineered, altered. Shocked into patterns that mimicked aggression, but underneath the layered code. Beneath the scars and reflexes and mutations was a memory pure and undistorted. A hand, a child, a moment of stillness, not dominance. Recognition, and that was what broke the cycle, not weapons. Not commands, but the simple refusal to see another being as an object to be used. Alien didn't win the mission by killing her way to the objective. She won because she saw the beast and chose not to strike. She listened, she remembered, and for the first time in her life she was not alone. The lesson isn't written in military handbooks or war logs. It's not encoded in targeting protocols or AI governance models. But it survives, nonetheless, in a buried fang beneath the ruins of a cartel fortress, in a memory loop decoded by a curious child on a distant shore, in the hush that lingers when someone stares into the eyes of the other and does not pull the trigger. So what do we make of this? What matters in a world where neural control fields can rewrite thought, where beasts can be bent into soldiers, and where humans so easily become tools among tools? Maybe the answer isn't in power. Maybe it's in pause, in the moment between fear and reaction, in the heartbeat where you could destroy and don't. Because if you are human, truly human, you are more than your programming. You are more than history. You are the decision made in silence. Final words. If you are human, remember this: technology can replicate reflex. It can weaponize instinct. It can simulate empathy, simulate morality, simulate peace. But it cannot choose mercy. Only you can. And when the swamp rises around you, thick with blood and betrayal, with orders and fear, with creatures that look like monsters but carry forgotten pain, it is not the weapon in your hand that defines you. It is what you refuse to do with it. I didn't kill to survive. I survived because I didn't kill again. That is the line, in the mire, in the machine, in yourself. Don't cross it unless it's to reach out your hand.